The way I would begin thinking of this, the child is learning, I go nuts with the homework stuff after supper, or whenever the incident occurs. That's what I do next. There's a fairly predictable response to it. I go to my room. I don't mind going to my room that much. And I also know there's an end to it. The end to it will come, and I can't tell from this when the end comes, but commonly the end comes because after a while we all run out of energy and it's bedtime. And so we just stop. Tomorrow morning's a new day. It's as though last night didn't happen. We go through a normal day. We get into the evening again, and bloop, here it all is again. Now this kind of repetitive stuff that you know is coming back, it comes back over and over, in an 8-year-old especially, is the kind of stuff he needs training on how to control his will to work effectively with homework without going through all the drama. That would be the objective of how you want to train this. The trouble is that most of us are not in very good condition to train at night. Most of us are tired, have had a long day. My favorite show's coming on at 8 o'clock. This is the only time I get to talk to my husband. I feel like I've about lost it all day today, and I got to get my sanity back. There's 1,000 different reasons why we don't raise children at 7 o'clock at night very well. But it's common that we don't raise children very well in the evening. When could we raise children? Well, how about Saturday morning? Well, the trouble with Saturday morning is I like to sleep late. Right. Well, what if we said this is more important, that you really do want to fix this? What do you do Saturday morning? Well, I really don't have anything else to do on Saturday morning. I know. He doesn't either. We're now looking at something that occurs on Tuesday evening and moving it into Saturday where I have lots of time. Now this would be the way training ordinarily works, by the way. I'm now speaking to you about the concept of what's called discipline. The word discipline means practicing doing it right. Practicing doing it right. Discipline includes instruction, but instruction is only a component of discipline. The main component of discipline is practice. He practices doing it wrong in the evening. Do your homework. Next follows a practice doing it wrong. I have to change that. Do your homework is followed by a practice doing it right. That's what the process is that we're trying to accomplish here. The first step would be to ask myself, is he teachable or not? The mother sends him to his room, which I believe almost certainly is the correct thing to do, sends him to his room. Why? What's sending to the room about? Sending to the room is about breaking fellowship. Remember at the very start, this was the condition. Children are hooked on this. Children thrive on this moment. I'm talking about all children of all ages thrive on this. If the children who are close to their parents always are interested in a moment of being close to their parents. That's just the way it is. If you did this part well, you've got this in your back pocket to play when you need to bring pressure into a child's life to conform. If this is what's waiting for him. If you take this away, that's what isolation does. Isolation takes away the fellowship of your relationship. And when the fellowship is gone, the pressure goes up in the child's life. I've got to get the fellowship back. How do you get the fellowship back? By going along with my program. If you want me back in your life, it begins by you agreeing with me that I'm in charge and that I get to run the show and I'm telling you how to do this. Your job is to go along with what I'm saying. I'll help you because my job is to discipline. My job is to train you how to do things. But your job is to go along with the show and to keep on having a hope that we'll get this stuff down if we keep working on it. So what is involved now is this process of discipline, and I want to sell you on the idea that there are two parts to discipline. The first part is establishing authority. The second part is practicing. If you've not established authority, you cannot practice. There's no point in practice. I say I'm in charge. You say I'm not. Okay, we're going to practice. What does that mean? Nothing. The baseball coach says to me, I want to teach you how to swing a baseball bat. I said, you're not going to teach me. Suppose that had happened. It would have been useless. He would have said, well, you're not on the team then. You can forget about baseball as far as I'm concerned. It's over with. I'm not going to deal with you if you won't let me teach you. This is a fundamental of child rearing, of teaching. If the child will not receive your teaching, do not continue teaching. Your problem is he won't receive your teaching. This is this picture here. This horse will not receive the rider, will not receive the rider. The rider wants to be in charge. The horse does not agree that the rider's going to be in charge, and this is what it looks like. The rider stays with the horse until finally the horse agrees he's going to be in charge, and then the horse is trained. And then the horse is trained in herding cattle. Eventually, a trained horse is very, very useful in herding cattle. But this has to happen first. You have to first agree that I'm your teacher, and you must let me teach you. If you don't let me teach you, that is the issue. It's not the lessons I have for you, it's the fact that you won't let me teach you. And I've got to get past that fact. And so then, if you just think in your own life, does your child see you as his teacher or not? If he doesn't see you as his teacher, that is your problem. If he sees you as his teacher and he's not doing the right thing, well, this is a matter of practice then. So then we have a child who doesn't do homework. Is it because he's got some kind of learning disorder, communication disorder, visual problem, confusion about the academics itself, doesn't understand what the homework's about? There's a million reasons that children may not perform the homework. But if the fundamental reason is, you don't tell me to do homework, lady, if that's the fundamental problem, then you've got to face that's the fundamental problem. I don't know, in a given 8-year-old, I'm a guy who worked with children for 40 years. I couldn't tell you off the cuff whether a given child has an academic issue or not, but I would certainly be interested in whether a child had an academic issue. An example of that would be, for instance, attention deficit, or a learning disorder like dyslexia, or a hearing problem, or a vision problem. I'd be interested in that kind of stuff, because that was my job as a doctor. But once I know that's not the issue, then I'm coming back around to this issue right here, and that is you will not let me teach you a lesson. That is the problem. You won't let me teach you a lesson. And so it's you and me getting this straight, that I'm the teacher, not you. I'm the guy who's in charge, not you. And we're going to have to work with it until we figure it out. And so I have this child now who I'm going to teach a lesson to. How would I start? Well, first of all, I wouldn't start when I'm tired and he's tired, and especially when he's looking for it. He thinks he's got me figured out. The only time you bring up homework stuff is at 7 o'clock at night. I know that. And so all I got to do is get between 7 and 8 and I'm home free. And I got till tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, then we'll do it all over again. I already know that. All right. I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench into this thing. Just as an example, spring vacation's coming up shortly. There are days of nothing better to do in spring vacation. I would look at spring vacation as a wonderful time to train children. And you look at the homework issue, an 8-year-old probably in the, say, 2nd to 3rd grade, most likely could do a 1st grade workbook sheet pretty easily, but that ain't trouble at all. Because this is not academics. This is not about academics. This is about the discipline of being a student. It's a different issue. The discipline of being a student is not the same thing as learning what students learn. It's 7 o'clock at night. I've got an 8-year-old who I know is not going to do his homework when I tell him to do his homework. I know he's not. Why do I know it? Because he didn't do it last night. Because he didn't do it last week. Because he didn't do it last month. Because he did the same thing last year. I know he's not going to do his homework tonight. Realizing that, what is the point of going through what you're about to go through? What's the point of it? Well, you got to do something. Yeah, I know. Well, let's do something that works. Here's an idea of what would work. Is saying to him this morning when he wakes up in the morning, you know what, as I've been thinking about the homework stuff with you, and you and I go around and around every evening. For instance, last night. You remember what happened last night? No, I don't remember nothing. I know, but I remember everything. I said, go do your homework. You blah, blah, blah. I said, go to your room. You blah, blah, blah. And after a while in your room, you blah, blah, blah. And do you remember this? Oh, yeah. What's your point? My point is I'm not going to do it again tonight. You're going off to school now, and when you come home from school, I'm not going to tell you to do your homework. You're 8 years old. It's time for you to get your homework done when you come home. I'll have everything ready for you. You can get your homework done. And if you will, that'd be great. And I have a great idea for Saturday. I've thought about Saturday, and you and your 4-year-old brother and I are going to go out and do this and have a good time. Unless you don't do your homework. if you don't do your homework, then on Saturday, your dad's going to take your brother out, and I'm going to stay home with you, and we're doing homework. Now, the homework we're doing is not second grade or third grade. The homework is going to be first grade. Because this is not about academics. This is about the discipline of doing the work. So I've gotten you this little workbook. I want you to look at this workbook a minute. Do you know how to write the letter A? Come on, Mom. Do you know what 1 plus 1 is? Mom, I know. You should be able to get all this stuff absolutely right. There should not be a single thing you should miss on this. And if you don't do your homework when you come home this evening, on Saturday morning, bright and early, I'm going to give you this workbook and we're going to start working through it. And when you do it correctly, you'll do it again. And when you do it correctly again, you'll do it again. And when you do it correctly again, you'll do it again. And when you do it correctly again, you'll do it again. Because I'm going to teach you, when it's time to do homework, you sit down and do homework. And you do it accurately, and you do it well. You do it efficiently, you get through with it. And I'm not going to discuss it with you. Okay, time for you to go on to school now. How long did that little conversation last? 5 minutes? So he comes home from school. I say, you remember our conversation this morning? Good. I wouldn't say anything else. I'm through talking. I wouldn't say anything else. What I'm doing right now is reestablishing my authority. I'm not fooling. If I say it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You can't control what happens on Saturday. I control what happens on Saturday. And so he makes a choice. He maybe presses you on it. Maybe he does half of it. Or maybe he does some of it and slops through some of it. Whatever he does, you can tell his attitude. You know, his whole thing's about attitude. The whole thing's about attitude. He does not regard your authority. And the whole thing's about attitude. And if you're not going to take me as your teacher, I understand what that means. I got work to do. And so, I just call him and I say, well, this isn't going to work this way, so I'll see you on Saturday. That's the end of it. I'm not having an argument with him. I'm not putting up with anything. It's just, that's what's going to happen Saturday. So Saturday morning, bright and early, I'd go wake him up, get him out of bed, give him some breakfast, and say it's time to do homework. I want this page done in the next 10 minutes. I'll check it. He does the page well. You say, now here's the page, do another one. Now here's another page. Now here's another page. And he's learning to sit down and do homework. At some point, sooner or later, he says, for this noise, I ain't doing this. And now you have the crisis. Now you've brought to the surface what's always been there, and that is this: I don't regard your authority. I don't accept you as my teacher. You are not going to tell me to do homework, and I'm going to do it. It's not going to happen. That's what he says. I am his teacher. I have to teach him. I am your teacher. This just becomes the lesson now. I am your teacher. And there is no other lesson except that. I am your teacher. You have to stay focused on what the issue is. You do not accept that I'm your teacher. So you go to your room. That's the end of it. I don't discuss it. The room would be a point of isolation that's safe and boring and where he's lonely. The bathroom, okay. Point is, be sure if DSS makes a raid in your house, it doesn't look like a dungeon. You have to be humane about this stuff, but you have to be no nonsense about it. The relationship, the fellowship that you and I enjoy is over with. I don't discuss this with you. We're not having a conversation about this. I've stopped talking about this. I'm simply acting. You're out of my life right now. And you can come back in my life when you're ready for me to be your teacher. And I will not deal with you until you're ready to be my teacher. And it's over with. He's in his room for how long? It's whatever he says. It's whatever he says. He sends out some kind of annoying note or something like that. It doesn't bother me. I already know he's provoked by me. It doesn't change anything. He's annoyed by me, or that he calls me names. It doesn't bother me because I already know that's his attitude. He's just simply expressing what I already know. I'm waiting for him to change. I'm waiting for him to turn. I'm waiting for him to come out sincerely sorry that this was his attitude toward me. And I will not do anything until I get that. And the stress in his life will go up. So it's now 9 o'clock, it's now 10 o'clock, it's now 11 o'clock, it's now 12 o'clock. I'd give him lunch. He has a bathroom break. You might give him some juice or something like that. I'm not mad at him, and this is not punishment. I'm not punishing him. I'm waiting for his heart to change. I got nothing else. I can't change his heart. He has to change his heart. In my life, when I was doing this with my own children, I was praying, I can tell you that. Because I know I can't change a kid's heart. That's how what I was doing when my child was in isolation. And something changes sooner or later, and the child comes out with his hands up. And that's the first time now that you positioned yourself as his teacher, is when his hands are up and he says, I'm sorry. And what's happened here is he's come around to the point of view that I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I want him to know he's wrong. He's wrong to reject you as his teacher. This is a fundamental problem that he has. He cannot reject you as his teacher. There is not a more valuable teacher in his life than you are. You will teach him far more lessons than anyone that person will ever run into. And he cannot reject you as his teacher. And there's never going to be a teacher in his life that cares as much about him as you do. And therefore your lessons are valuable beyond understanding. You have got to establish yourself as his teacher and then teach the lessons. He comes out with his hands up in the air and says, I'm sorry. Is when you can teach him something. And it's at this point that we re-engage. Do the homework. Now do another page of homework. Now do another page of homework. Now do another page of homework. And I teach you how you sit down and do homework. We're not doing academics. We're learning the disciplines of being under the authority of a teacher, and the teacher telling you what to do, and you're receiving the teaching. This is the discipline that I'm teaching you. Do any of y'all have a question on this?